Heaven pauses for a moment right now. Everything slows down, not because of coincidence, but because something divine is unfolding you. You don't even realize what you did today, how small and unseen it may have felt. Yet it moved the heart of God, somewhere between your sigh and your quiet whisper of faith. Heaven smiled. God leaned toward earth and said, "You made me laugh today." It is written in the book of Psalms, chapter 16, verse 11, "You make known to me the path of life. In your presence there is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore." You have to understand what that means. Joy is not distant. It's not trapped in tomorrow or hidden behind success. Joy lives where you walk. The way you carried peace into a tense room. The way you chose forgiveness instead of revenge. The way you held on to hope when everything told you not to. That's the sound that stirs heaven's laughter. You didn't perform a miracle. You simply stayed kind, stayed believing, stayed light in a place that wanted you to dim. God's laughter isn't mockery. It's celebration. When He laughs, it's because your faith disarms darkness. Every time the enemy thought he had you cornered, your refusal to break became a divine joke. Heaven laughs not at your pain, but at how your endurance turns pain into purpose. You didn't even know the throne room noticed. But heaven never misses a step you take in obedience. You think your prayer went unheard. You think your love was wasted. But God sees that one small moment, the one where you refused to quit, even when no one clapped for you, and He calls the angels to witness it. That one, He says, that one still chooses light. Heaven laughs because you still believe. There is something sacred about laughter born from faith. It doesn't sound like the laughter of the world. It's deeper, gentler, richer. It carries eternity's tone. It's the laughter that silences demons, the laughter that shakes fear from its throne. When you laugh after crying, heaven hears music. When you smile while bleeding inside, heaven hears worship. When you speak gratitude, even while waiting, heaven hears victory. Do you know how rare that is? To smile after storms, to forgive after betrayal, to dream again after disappointment. That's not weakness, it's divine DNA showing through. You are made in the image of the one who rejoices. His joy flows through you like light through stained glass, coloring everything you touch with grace. Maybe you thought today was ordinary, but heaven keeps records of ordinary days filled with extraordinary faith. When you chose compassion over pride, heaven took note. When you spoke peace instead of anger, heaven applauded. When you helped someone who couldn't repay you, heaven celebrated. That's what made God laugh today, the beauty of your unnoticed obedience. So keep walking in this light. Don't rush past the small victories thinking they're insignificant. Every smile that cost you strength, every moment of kindness in your own exhaustion, every prayer whispered through tears, all of it is a reason for divine laughter. You are part of heaven's joy story. If only you could see what happens in the spirit when you do what's right, even when it's hard. The darkness trembles because it doesn't understand joy that can't be stolen. You're not just surviving, you're shining. And every time you rise, you remind all of creation that light wins. God says, "You made me laugh today." That means He sees you, knows you, and delights in you. This is not flattery, it's a reminder that you are seen through the eyes of love. His laughter is not about humor, it's about triumph. You are His victory echo on earth. So lift your head. Don't hide your light. Keep moving with grace. Even when the road feels narrow, you have already captured heaven's attention. Let that truth sink in you. Yes, you carry a joy that shakes the throne of darkness. You made heaven laugh today, and heaven will walk with you tomorrow. Now, before you scroll away, pause. Let this sink deep into your spirit. If this word touched you, show it by taking a step of faith. Share this message. Let someone else remember that God still smiles. Like this, if your heart feels seen. Subscribe so you don't miss the next divine whisper meant just for you. And in the comments below, write this prophetic number as your declaration of joy and alignment. Type 777, the number of divine completion. The sound of heaven's laughter echoing over your life. Let your laughter become a language heaven understands. Every smile is warfare. Every act of love is a seed of light. Keep walking, glowing, breathing grace. Heaven walks beside you. This joy will carry you through storms. It will speak louder than pain, stronger than fear. Keep shining. Chosen one, the laughter of God still echoes in your steps. There are moments when you walk through your day and feel invisible, when it seems no one notices the quiet ways you choose good over bitterness, truth over comfort, faith over fear. Yet, in the unseen realm, every small decision you make glows like light across the heavens. Heaven watches silently, not because it is distant, but because reverence surrounds your obedience. Angels move with quiet joy, recording your steps, whispering your name before the throne. Scripture says in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 4, "Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you." You see, heaven does not measure greatness the way the world does. The world looks for crowds, applause, and visible success. But God looks for faithfulness, the kind that blooms in hidden soil, watered only by tears and hope. You've been sowing in silence, believing when the evidence said stop, serving when no one thanked you. What you call ordinary, heaven calls holy. There are eyes upon you, not of judgment, but of love. Heaven watches not to test, but to treasure. Every act of mercy is written in divine ink. When you encourage someone who's given up, when you forgive in private, when you choose humility instead of boasting, those moments are recorded as songs of light. The angels rejoice over things you barely remember doing. That time you comforted a stranger, that moment you prayed for someone in pain, that instant you turned away from temptation without anyone noticing. Heaven never forgets. You have no idea how your obedience has shifted the atmosphere of entire rooms. Sometimes you think your prayers vanish into the ceiling, but heaven catches every word. Your sighs are interpreted as language before the throne. The soft yes you whisper to God when it would be easier to say no resounds through eternity. There is no such thing as unseen faith. God witnesses it all. Imagine this: the creator of galaxies stops to observe your patience, your endurance, your heart that keeps choosing kindness. When the day feels monotonous and heavy, remember, heaven is not silent because it's absent. Heaven is silent because it's listening. Every test you endure is also a testimony in progress. The quiet hours when you push through the mornings when you pray even though you feel nothing, the way you still extend grace to those who wrong you. These are the invisible victories that shape your crown. You may wonder why God doesn't make your goodness obvious to others, why your kindness goes unnoticed, why your sacrifices remain hidden. It's because some treasures are too sacred for display. The Father delights in what the world overlooks. The purity of a heart that loves Him without reward is priceless in His eyes. Think about this. A single act of kindness can ripple through generations. A word you spoke today may comfort someone years from now. Heaven records the echo of every choice. What you call small might be someone else's miracle waiting to unfold. So do not despise the unseen days. They are sacred classrooms where heaven trains its chosen ones. You are not being ignored, you are being watched with awe. Your faithfulness builds altars in unseen realms, places where angels bow and darkness retreats. God smiles not only when you conquer mountains, but when you keep walking in valleys. Every step in the shadows is still holy ground because you carry His light there. Remember, this faith is never wasted, even when no one claps. Heaven watches quietly because it already knows the ending. Your victory is certain. You may not hear applause, but heaven's silence often hides celebration. Every time you resist despair, the enemy loses ground. Every time you whisper thank you through tears, a flame lights up in the spirit. Heaven sees. Heaven knows. Heaven rejoices. Keep being faithful in the small, unseen spaces. Keep loving when no one is watching. The reward isn't found in recognition, but in transformation, your heart becoming more like His. The Father who sees in secret is crafting blessings beyond what you can imagine. The next time you feel unseen, remember heaven is watching quietly, tenderly, joyfully. You are not forgotten. You are deeply observed, profoundly loved, eternally known. The silence of heaven is not neglect, it's admiration. When God watches you, He is seeing His reflection steadfast, kind, radiant in secret. Every hidden act you do releases unseen ripples of glory that touch places you'll never visit. You think you are walking alone, but you are walking beneath watchful wings. Every step you take in faith echoes through eternity. The quiet obedience of your heart has become heaven's favorite melody, sung softly where angels dwell. So walk on, unseen one, radiant one. Let your goodness remain pure and unadvertised. Heaven's gaze is upon you, and that is enough. Your unseen faith writes poetry across the skies, lines only heaven and your soul can read. There was a moment quiet, almost invisible to you, when heaven's laughter erupted because of something you did. You may not even remember it. It wasn't when you achieved something grand or made a public stand. It was small. It was simple. It was sacred. You chose to trust when you could have doubted. You chose peace instead of panic. You stood still when fear said run. That instant became melody before the throne. As the prophet wrote in the scroll of Habakkuk, chapter 3, verse 18, "Yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful in God my Savior." That's it. That's the kind of moment that shakes heaven with delight. You didn't force joy. You chose it. The sound of your quiet praise in pain became thunder in heaven. You made God laugh because your heart refused to let darkness write the ending. Think of it, the Creator of all things laughing not at you, but because of you. You made His day brighter. You made the angels pause their song to witness this rare act of faith, a human smiling through breaking. rejoicing through confusion, trusting when no miracle was visible. The laughter of heaven isn't noise, it's revelation. It means something unseen has shifted. It means your tears were not wasted. Your surrender was not ignored. Heaven laughs when hope proves stronger than fear. Heaven laughs when you rise again after falling. Heaven laughs when the enemy thinks it's over and you whisper, "I still believe." Your laughter, your gratitude, your faith, these are divine languages. They are not the reactions of naive hearts. They are the declarations of warriors who've been through fire and still sing. You've endured seasons that would have silenced others, yet here you are, shining. When you worship through pain, the enemy loses his grip. When you dance in the dark, the chains of despair weaken. When you find something to thank God for, even in loss, you create a vibration that shakes the unseen realm. Heaven laughs not mockery, but celebration, because even when storms roared, you stayed anchored. Remember, joy is not denial of reality, it's alignment with eternity. It's choosing to see beyond circumstance into promise. Every time you say, "God, I trust you," even through tears, heaven smiles wider. You may not always feel it, but divine joy moves through your spirit, like light through broken glass, refracted, beautiful, unstoppable. You've been through enough to give up 1,000 times, yet you remain. That persistence, that stubborn love, that quiet endurance, it's comedy to heaven and tragedy to hell. And maybe, just maybe, heaven laughs not because your life is easy, but because your story keeps proving darkness wrong. You've outlasted seasons meant to destroy you. You've learned to see purpose where pain once lived. You've become walking proof that joy is stronger than sorrow. Today, God says, "I saw you. I heard your song, and I laughed not because you failed, but because you refused to." Heaven rejoices in resilience. Heaven celebrates endurance. Heaven calls it glory when a chosen one refuses to bow to despair. So, when you laugh, even faintly, remember that heaven laughs with you. When you choose joy again tomorrow, know that your laughter echoes through eternity. And now, take this moment and anchor it in your spirit. In the comments below, write these words, "I choose joy." Not because life is easy, but because joy is warfare. And heaven agrees with your declaration. When you write it, you're not just typing words, you're activating faith. You're joining heaven's laughter. You're declaring that nothing can steal your light. Let your comment be your proclamation. Let your joy be your rebellion. The moment you say it, heaven laughs again. When you type, "I choose joy," you are not denying your pain, you are redefining it. You are telling heaven that sorrow will not be your language anymore. You are choosing to speak victory even while the battle still rages around you. When you declare, "I choose joy," angels take note. It becomes a written testimony in heaven's archive that even in your lowest valley, faith still speaks. You turn your suffering into worship, your weakness into melody, your endurance into a living prayer. When you whisper, "I choose joy," you silence every voice of fear that said you wouldn't make it. That simple phrase becomes a sword, cutting through lies, cutting through despair, reminding the darkness that you are still light in motion. When you stand firm and say, "I choose joy," You remind creation of its maker's laughter. It's a defiant act of hope. It tells the enemy, "You can touch my circumstances, but you will never steal my sound." Heaven calls that courage. When your trembling fingers write, "I choose joy." It is not weakness, it is warfare. Each letter carries divine authority. It's heaven's way of saying through you, "This one belongs to light." You become a living echo of resurrection. And when you live, I choose joy. Day by day. Not just in words, but in posture. Heaven's laughter never fades. You walk as proof that love endures. Faith conquers, and joy holy. Unbreakable joy will always have the final word. There is a kind of laughter that cannot be heard by human ears. It moves like wind through eternity, carrying the sound of heaven's delight. It is not laughter born from mockery or sarcasm. It is holy, radiant, and full of wonder. It is the laughter of God when His children walk in faith, even while their knees tremble. The ancient words recorded in the book of Job, chapter 5, verse 22, declare, "You will laugh at destruction and famine, and need not fear the wild animals." This is divine laughter, a joy that cannot be shaken by circumstances. It is heaven's way of saying, "You have conquered what was meant to conquer you." When you walk through storms with peace, heaven rejoices. When you stand amidst chaos and still find gratitude, the sound of that choice reverberates through eternity, like music only angels understand. You may not realize it, but your faith makes heaven joyful. When you look at the broken pieces of your life and still whisper, "God is good," that is worship in its purest form. It's not the laughter of denial, it's the laughter of knowing something deeper, something eternal, that light always wins, that love always prevails, that every pain has purpose. There are moments when heaven's laughter feels far away. The weight of this world presses hard, and you wonder if joy still has a place inside you. But God's laughter never fades. It's just waiting to rise again through your faith. You are not too broken to laugh again. You are not too late to feel joy. Heaven's delight has already marked your story. It's written between every line of sorrow you've survived. Holy laughter is different from earthly joy. It's not loud or shallow. It's quiet strength, like a candle burning in the night that refuses to die out. It's the kind of joy that sits inside pain and still shines. It's what happens when faith grows deeper than fear. That is what makes God smile, the beauty of your endurance, the sound of your unseen worship. There was a day you cried until you had no more words, and yet, deep in your spirit, something whispered, "Keep going." That whisper was heaven's response. It was joy rising inside you when you didn't even recognize it. Because joy isn't always laughter, it's also the quiet, knowing that everything will be redeemed. When God laughs, it is the sound of victory. It's the echo of every prayer you thought went unanswered. It's the celebration of every battle you thought you lost, but actually won in the unseen. His laughter is mercy in motion, kindness in sound, glory in rhythm, and that same laughter is reflected in you. You carry fragments of that divine joy inside your soul. When you smile again after heartbreak, you mirror heaven. When you forgive someone who never apologized, you reflect divine character. When you choose peace over bitterness, you echo the laughter of God. Holy laughter is not careless, it's courageous. It declares, "The darkness didn't win. It reminds every power of despair that joy is not optional for the chosen, it's their inheritance. The enemy cannot steal what heaven has given. That's why your laughter, your joy, your peace, they're not fragile, they're prophetic. You don't have to pretend that everything is fine. Holy laughter doesn't deny pain, it transforms it. It's born when your soul realizes that no suffering can cancel God's promise. The same God who wept at Lazarus's tomb also rejoiced when life returned. That's divine rhythm, grief and joy existing together. Both holy, both true. You might not feel like laughing right now. That's all right. Sometimes the holiest laughter begins as a sigh, a small release. A moment when you remember that grace is still working behind the curtain. You don't have to manufacture joy, you only have to make room for it. Heaven will do the rest. Your faith has been tested, refined, stretched beyond comfort. But even now, joy is being written into your name. You are learning to laugh like heaven does, not because life is perfect, but because love is undefeated. And one day, you'll look back on this chapter and realize why God laughed. He saw what you couldn't see, the victory waiting on the other side of surrender. He saw your resilience becoming glory. He saw his reflection in you. That is why heaven laughed. And that is why it still does. Holy laughter will return to your heart like sunrise, slow, certain, unstoppable. It will find you in silence and teach you again how to breathe peace instead of fear, faith instead of doubt, light instead of despair. You are learning heaven's rhythm now, the blend of tears and laughter, sorrow and strength. Each day you rise. That sacred joy hums quietly beneath your ribs, reminding darkness it has lost authority. And when you finally laugh again, it won't be shallow or fleeting, it will be resurrection in sound. It will carry heaven's echo. Proof that grace still wins. Proof that you survived. Proof that God never left you. Faith has a sound. And today, heaven hears yours. It's not the shout of someone trying to prove strength, it's the quiet rhythm of a heart that keeps believing. Your faith moves like music through the unseen, steady and pure, calling heaven closer. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 17, verse 20, "If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you." That's how it happens. Faith doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. Heaven doesn't measure volume, it measures sincerity. And lately, God has seen the sincerity of your steps. You've kept walking through shadows that would have broken others. You've believed through silence. You've smiled through exhaustion. That's why heaven laughs again. When heaven laughs, the earth trembles not in fear, but in freedom. The sound of divine joy begins to pour through your life, touching people you'll never meet. Someone across the world might feel lighter because you kept your faith today. You don't realize it yet, but your endurance is contagious. You carry light in your words. You carry peace in your patience. Every act of faith you make is a ripple that travels far beyond sight. The way you refuse to curse the darkness and instead whisper hope, it travels. It grows. It multiplies. That's what it means to be a torchbearer. God doesn't ask you to burn alone. He gives you fire so you can ignite others. Every time you encourage someone, every time you remind a weary heart that grace still works, you're passing on a spark. And yes, that spark grows brighter when we stand together, When you share this message, you're not just spreading words, you're extending light. Someone might scroll by and suddenly feel hope again. When you like, you're adding your own small flame to the bonfire of faith. When you subscribe, you're choosing to walk in unity with this growing circle of light bearers. Now, listen with your heart. If the Spirit nudges you, and you feel moved to give, hear this clearly. This is never pressure, only invitation. Think of giving not as transaction, but as breathing life into the very stream that watered your soul. When you donate, it's like planting a lantern in someone else's darkness. You don't lose your flame, you multiply it. What you sow in secret becomes radiant fruit for others to taste. Every gift, small or great, whispers, "Let there be light." No one counts your offering. Heaven measures your heart. And even if all you can give right now is prayer or encouragement, that too is gold in God's economy. What matters is the love behind it, the decision to keep light flowing. So, if this word has touched you, let your response be gentle and joyful. Like to say, "I stand in the light." Share to let the spark travel farther. Subscribe to remain connected to this stream of heaven's laughter. And if your spirit whispers, yes, donate. Not out of duty, but as a sacred echo of gratitude. Your seed, your spark, your small yes becomes a part of heaven's laughter story. Proof that joy still moves across the earth through willing hearts. Keep walking, shining, and sowing light in your own way. Heaven smiles on every act of faith, every whisper of generosity, every hand that says, "I will help the light keep burning." Every spark of kindness you release becomes a bridge of light between heaven and earth. You may never see the faces your light touches, but somewhere, someone breathes easier because your faith decided to shine. That is how heaven multiplies goodness quietly, endlessly. Think of yourself as a candle carried through the night, the flame you protect, even when winds rise, becomes a guide for souls still wandering in shadows. Your endurance is not small, it's sacred. Every moment you choose light, heaven leans closer. There are seasons when giving feels hard, when your own heart feels empty. But even then, generosity can look like a prayer, like a word of hope spoken through trembling lips. You never lose when you give love. It always returns multiplied. Heaven measures differently. What the world calls little, God calls eternal. What feels unnoticed becomes a ripple in eternity. When you offer time, care, or a gift to keep light flowing, you partner with the same joy that once made the stars dance. Never forget your faith is fuel for someone else's miracle. The way you live, love, and believe becomes a living sermon. When you sow light, you reap laughter. When you give hope, you harvest peace. This is the rhythm of divine exchange. And as heaven watches, laughter rises again, not because of wealth, but because of willing hearts. Your yes, your small flame, your quiet faith, they all join together to form the melody. Heaven calls joy. Keep glowing, keep giving, keep shining. There is something sacred about the way God looks at you, not through the lens of perfection, but through the beauty of persistence. Heaven has watched you stumble, rise, fall again, and still move forward. That is grace in motion, faith that refuses to surrender. The Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, 2nd book, chapter 4, Verse 16, therefore we do not lose heart. Though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. That renewal, unseen, quiet, constant, is what heaven celebrates. You may think you're barely holding on, but in truth, you're being rebuilt. Every hardship that tried to weaken you has become part of your strengthening. Every moment of exhaustion has made your light steadier. Heaven does not see your weakness as failure. It sees it as evidence that your spirit still burns. There are days when you wake up and feel empty, unsure, unseen. You wonder if your prayers reach anywhere at all. Yet, heaven answers softly. You are being renewed even now. You may not see the transformation, but you are becoming more radiant with every trial survived, every tear turned into wisdom. Sometimes God hides his work so that faith can grow roots. He allows you to walk through silence, not to punish you, but to reveal your own depth. The flower does not grow while staring at the sun. It grows when its roots search in the dark. So does your soul. You are learning to live in light that does not depend on circumstance. You're learning that joy isn't always a song. It's also a choice whispered through fatigue. You may think heaven's laughter has quieted, but it hasn't. It's simply waiting for you to laugh again, even softly, from the middle of your rebuilding. Every scar you carry is a chapter of grace. Heaven doesn't hide from your wounds, it shines through them. The same hands that molded galaxies now trace the outlines of your healing. Nothing you've walked through is wasted. Every heartbreak has birthed something eternal inside you. God's laughter today isn't distant thunder, it's the sound of joy over your resilience. When you rise again after disappointment, heaven applauds. When you forgive one more time, even when it hurts, angels write it down. Heaven doesn't measure success the way the world does. Heaven measures obedience, humility, love. The world may not see your transformation yet, but heaven already does. You've become stronger, softer, wiser. You've learned that light isn't something you chase, it's something you carry. And you, chosen one, have carried it well. So don't lose heart. You're walking through the sacred in-between, where endings turn to beginnings, and ashes turn to beauty. Heaven sees it all. Heaven celebrates even the small victories you forget to notice. There's something happening right now. As you read these words, a stirring, a reminder, a call. God whispers, keep walking. You're closer than you think. Joy is not behind you, it's within you, waiting to rise again. Heaven's laughter is returning to your spirit. You can feel it, a warmth spreading through your chest, a peace that makes no sense but feels right. That's renewal. That's grace. That's proof you're not forgotten. So, if this word is reaching you in a quiet but undeniable way, take it as confirmation. Heaven still sees you, still laughs because of you, still walks beside you. Now, pause for a moment. Let your heart respond in faith. In the comments below, type this prophetic number, 444. It's the sound of divine stability, the symbol of foundations being rebuilt in light. When you write it, you're not following a ritual, you're agreeing with heaven's rhythm. 444 means this: your steps are ordered, your spirit is being strengthened, and the ground beneath you is becoming solid again. It's your declaration that what was once broken is now being restored. Let your comment be more than words. Let it be your yes to renewal. You are not lost, you are being rebuilt. You are not empty, you are being refilled. And even now, heaven laughs softly, saying, "Look at my child still walking, still shining, still choosing light." When you type 444, you are not just writing numbers, you are building an altar of remembrance. It is your way of saying, "God, I see what you're rebuilding in me." Each digit becomes a stone of gratitude, marking the place where despair once lived but no longer rules. When you declare 444, heaven reads it as faith taking form. It means you trust the unseen hands shaping your tomorrow. It means you are choosing stability over fear, truth over doubt, peace over panic. You are standing on ground God Himself is restoring beneath your feet. And every time you see 444 again in a moment, on a screen, in a day, it will remind you of this promise: what God begins, He finishes. Your foundations are no longer shaking. You are rooted, grounded, rising again in divine strength. Heaven laughs because you believed. You have walked through seasons that tried to silence your laughter. The shadows gathered, the storms spoke, and for a while you wondered if joy would ever find its way back. But light never forgets its way home. It bends, it waits, it whispers, and somehow it always returns. You are that light, walking through shadow, yet refusing to be swallowed by it. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 1, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." There is something profoundly beautiful about a soul that still shines after darkness. You have carried pain that others could not see. You have hidden battles behind calm smiles and found ways to love, even when love was not returned. That kind of resilience does not come from human strength, it comes from divine breath. Darkness has always tried to convince you that your light is too small, that your laughter is too fragile, that your hope is too late. But the truth is, even the faintest light can undo the deepest night. Every time you forgive, every time you choose peace over revenge, every time you reach for faith instead of fear, you push back the shadows. You are a walking sunrise. You are proof that dawn can come from the middle of a midnight season. The darkness fears you, not because you are loud or powerful, but because you refuse to disappear. Heaven calls you a keeper of light, a flame that learned how to glow even when the wind howled. When you walk through hard places, the atmosphere shifts. The unseen realm recognizes the light in you. Demons remember the sound of your persistence. Angels move to make room for the strength of your faith. That's why storms rise against you. They recognize the threat you are to despair. You have not been fighting ordinary battles. The opposition you faced is proportionate to the glory you carry. The darker the night, the brighter your calling must be. Heaven has trusted you with darkness because it knows you can walk through it without losing your glow. And still, you wonder sometimes if it matters, if anyone notices, if heaven still sees. But every flicker of hope that remains in you is already proof that it does. The darkness wouldn't fight so hard if your light didn't matter. Sometimes, the greatest miracle isn't when God removes the storm, it's when He makes you shine through it. There's a strange kind of peace in knowing that you no longer fear what used to destroy you. That's what grace does. It doesn't always take away the fire, but it teaches you how to walk through it without being burned. Every chosen one learns this truth. Light is forged, not borrowed. The radiance you carry today is made of your tears, your prayers, your endurance. You didn't find it, you became it. That's why your presence carries weight. That's why people feel peace around you. Even when you say nothing, heaven's laughter echoes through you. You were not chosen because you were perfect. You were chosen because you were willing. God saw your scars and still said, "Yes, this one." He saw your trembling hands and still decided you were strong enough to carry light. You are not an accident, you are an answer. And maybe the reason you've felt so misunderstood is because light cannot blend into darkness. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand out, to illuminate, to reveal truth just by being who you are. Do not resent the shadows that once surrounded you. They are the proof that you shine. Do not regret the tears they watered the garden of your strength. Every hard place you've endured has turned you into a walking reflection of God's glory. So keep walking through the shadows, not in fear, but in confidence. You are not walking into darkness, you are walking through it, carrying the laughter of heaven in your steps. The same God who called light out of nothing calls you by name. And one day, when you look back on this journey, you'll realize that every step through the dark was guiding you toward a deeper dawn. Because light is not something you find at the end, it's something you release along the way. The shadows were never your enemy, they were your classroom. They taught you how to recognize light by contrast, how to hear God's whisper in the absence of noise, how to walk by faith when sight had nothing to offer you. Now your light carries memory. It glows differently, warmer, wiser, humbler. It's the kind of light that doesn't need to prove itself, the kind that simply is. Every scar reflects glory now. Every ache hums with meaning. You are not merely surviving the night, you are rewriting it. The same darkness that tried to bury you now frames your radiance. And heaven, watching, laughs softly, not at you, but with you, because the child who once trembled in shadow now walks shining with divine fire. You have become a mystery to the darkness. The same storms that once terrified you now stand confused, because what was meant to break you has built something unshakable within. The enemy cannot understand why you keep rising, why you keep shining, why your laughter still echoes through pain. But heaven knows. You are heaven's inside joke, a divine reminder that every plan against you has already failed. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 19, verse 21, many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. This is the secret of your strength. You don't survive because you're stronger than the storm. You survive because your life is rooted in divine purpose. The winds can blow, but they cannot uproot what heaven has planted. The enemy tries to write endings, but God always writes new beginnings. You live in the tension of what tried to end you and what God has redeemed from it. There are things you went through that were meant to destroy your laughter, pain that came to make you bitter, situations that should have silenced your joy. But instead, something holy happened. You turned it all into worship. You turned tears into seeds, loss into wisdom, disappointment into devotion. That's why darkness cannot understand you. You don't respond logically, you respond divinely. Every time the enemy whispered, "It's over," you whispered back, "Watch what God can do." That's why heaven laughs, because what the enemy meant for evil, God keeps turning into evidence of his faithfulness. You are a walking contradiction to every lie that said you wouldn't make it. You have no idea how much power is hidden in your endurance. Every battle you faced became a mirror, showing the world the strength of the one who lives inside you. When the enemy said, "They're done," God said, "They're just beginning." And heaven laughed not out of mockery, but out of unstoppable joy. You are heaven's inside joke because your story exposes the futility of darkness. Every setback became setup. Every delay turned into divine timing. Every rejection became redirection. You didn't lose, you were being positioned. You weren't buried, you were being planted. That's what makes your journey so sacred. You've lived through chapters that didn't make sense, but they all led to this, a life that radiates grace. When others gave up, you grew up. When others stayed bitter, you stayed believing. You became the evidence that light doesn't just survive darkness, it transforms it. God has used your life to confuse the enemy. Every time you praised through pain, you reversed the atmosphere. Every time you forgave, you disarmed bitterness. Every time you smiled after loss, you reminded hell that joy still reigns. That's why you are an inside joke, because heaven laughs every time darkness fails again. You may think you're ordinary, but your obedience carries eternal weight. Heaven laughs not because of perfection, but because of persistence. It's your decision to keep shining when it's hard that delights God's heart. Your laughter, your peace, your steady spirit, they're all sermons in motion. Look back at what you've overcome. You thought those seasons would end you, yet they became the training ground of your anointing. You didn't just survive the fire, you learned to carry it. Now, wherever you walk, darkness recognizes the flame. You are a walking torch, and every shadow knows your name. You don't need to prove your strength. The fact that you're still here is proof enough. Every breath you take is a declaration that heaven's plans still stand. The same God who wrote your beginning is still writing your next chapter, one filled with laughter and restoration. Heaven laughs not because the battle is over, but because the outcome is already decided. You were never meant to lose. You were meant to reveal. You were chosen to stand as living evidence that no weapon formed against you can prosper. So the next time you feel surrounded, remember, heaven isn't panicking. Heaven is laughing, because the light in you cannot be extinguished, and the plans of darkness will never prevail. You are living proof that grace gets the final word. You, the misunderstood, the overlooked, the scarred, you are heaven's paradox. What was meant to make you bitter made you beautiful. What was meant to silence you made you sing. And heaven will keep laughing, because your life is one long story of how God always wins. Heaven smiles each time you rise again, each time you walk through what tried to stop you. You are not a tragedy, you are a testimony wrapped in human form, breathing proof that light cannot be defeated. Your laughter is prophecy now. Every smile you release is a declaration that no shadow holds authority over your destiny. You've turned pain into praise, and heaven calls that victory. So let the world wonder. Let darkness retreat. You are the divine irony that silences despair. What once broke you now bows to your joy. And heaven still laughs because you were always the plan, even when no one sees you. Heaven still hears the quiet echoes of your heart. The world celebrates noise and visibility, but heaven celebrates consistency, the steady flame that doesn't go out when no one is watching. That is you. That is your worship. According to what is revealed in the book of Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9, let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Every prayer you whisper in secret, every good deed done without recognition, becomes a seed planted in divine soil. Nothing you've done in love is forgotten. The harvest of joy you long for, it's growing, even when you can't see the roots. Heaven is patient with process, and you are part of one far greater than you imagine. You've been faithful through quiet years, through unanswered prayers, through long nights that stretched into longer mornings. The world might not applaud, but heaven does. You have been seen, and your obedience has become fragrance before the throne. The angels carry your perseverance like a song, one that never fades, one that keeps heaven's laughter alive. The hidden places are holy places. They are where faith matures, where character deepens, where real joy is born. You've learned to stand without spotlight, to sing without stage, to shine without recognition. That's why the darkness could never win. It cannot dim a light that glows from within. When you act in secret kindness, the world may stay silent, but heaven erupts with praise. Every quiet yes you give to God becomes thunder in the spirit. The enemy trembles not when you are loud, but when you are faithful. Faithfulness is heaven's favorite sound. You have turned your hidden seasons into sanctuaries. The nights that once felt endless have become altars where heaven and earth meet. Every sigh you've released became prayer incense. Every lonely moment became the soil of destiny. Even now, God is writing your story in golden ink. Every hidden act, every tear, every whisper, they're building something eternal. You may not see it yet, but one day, others will walk in the light you built with your unseen obedience. Heaven smiles over you right now, not because of perfection, but because of persistence, because even in silence, you still love. Even in waiting, you still believe. Even when uncelebrated, you still serve. That is what delights the heart of God. So keep sowing light, even when no one claps. Keep building altars where no one watches. Heaven sees. Heaven remembers. Heaven rewards. Now, if this word resonates deeply in your spirit, let your faith respond. In the comments below, write, "I'm still shining." When you declare, "I'm still shining," you're not boasting, you're testifying. You're reminding darkness that your light didn't need applause to survive. You're proclaiming to heaven and earth that even in hidden seasons, your flame still burns with divine purpose. It's more than a comment, it's a covenant. Every letter you type becomes a spark that joins countless others, declaring the same truth. Faith endures. Love lasts. And light never dies. Heaven laughs again. Not because of your perfection, but because of your perseverance. You, the quiet one, the faithful one, the unseen one, you are still shining. And your light is rewriting the night. When you write, "I'm still shining," you are not just making a statement, you are releasing a declaration into the atmosphere. Those 3 words carry the sound of survival, the fragrance of perseverance, the proof that storms have failed to extinguish your fire. "I'm still shining," tells heaven. "I've been through darkness, but I never stopped believing." It tells your past, You didn't win. It tells your future. I'm coming with light in my hands. That sentence becomes your anthem. Small but unstoppable. Simple but eternal. Every time you type, I'm still shining. Angels take notice. They record it as faith in motion, a human heart agreeing with divine laughter. It becomes a spiritual echo that travels beyond screens, reaching souls who need to remember that they, too, can glow again. Those words carry healing. They remind you that shining doesn't mean perfection, it means endurance. Light doesn't always roar. Sometimes it flickers, trembles, then rises again. And even when your flame feels small, God calls it beautiful, because it still burns. When you declare, I'm still shining, you step into prophecy. You align yourself with heaven's rhythm, the rhythm that says, no shadow lasts forever. You're saying, my story isn't over. My light will not fade. My laughter is returning. That's the melody heaven celebrates. And one day, when you read those words again, you'll remember this moment not as a cry from weakness, but as proof of divine resilience. You'll smile and realize your light never went out. It just learned how to glow through the storm. I'm still shining. Heaven hears it. Heaven laughs with you. And heaven calls it worship. Every step you've taken has become part of heaven's melody. You may not realize it, but your life hums with quiet rhythm, the rhythm of faith that keeps walking even when the song of hope feels faint. You are not behind, you are being tuned. Every note of your story highs, lows, silences, crescendos is being woven into something divine. We find in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. That's the beauty of divine orchestration. Nothing is wasted. Even the moments you thought were meaningless are instruments in heaven's hands. Every disappointment has been tuned to create harmony. Every delay refined to build depth. What felt like chaos is actually the rhythm of purpose being composed for you. When heaven watches your perseverance, it doesn't just see survival, it sees art. You've become a living song of redemption, a testimony that God can turn ashes into music. The creator of the galaxies conducts your days with care, ensuring that even your pain carries melody. But for this song to reach others, the sound must travel beyond you. When you share this message, you're not merely sending words, you're passing along a note from heaven's symphony. Somewhere, someone's soul is out of tune, and your small act of sharing becomes the tuning fork that brings them back into harmony. When you light this message, it's not about vanity or numbers, it's your quiet amen, a way of saying, yes, I hear heaven's music too. Each click of acknowledgement becomes a soft chord of agreement in a world that desperately needs resonance. When you subscribe, you're stepping into an ongoing melody, choosing to remain in rhythm with this flow of divine encouragement. It's like standing in the same choir of faith, singing together, keeping each other in key when the world's noise grows too loud. And if your heart stirs to give, listen gently. This is not obligation, it's invitation. When you donate, it is not payment for inspiration, but participation in it. Giving is how you add your instrument to heaven's orchestra. Some play with voice, some with words, some with resources, but every part matters. Think of generosity like wind for a flame. The light is already burning, but when wind passes, it grows brighter, spreading warmth to corners it couldn't reach before. Your support, no matter how small, becomes the breath that carries this fire farther to hearts still waiting in the dark. Or imagine it as dropping a pebble into a calm lake. You might think it's insignificant, but ripples travel farther than your eyes can follow. That's what your giving does. Small motion, endless echo. Each ripple of kindness touches a life, lights a heart, writes another verse in heaven's laughter. When you plant a seed, you don't rush it. You trust that beneath the soil, something holy stirs. When you give, you're planting hope in invisible soil. You might not see the sprout, but one day, someone else's joy will bloom from your unseen kindness. The beauty of it all is this: your generosity doesn't come from abundance, it flows from love. And heaven values that kind of giving more than gold, because when you give freely, you mirror God's heart, the one who gives without measure, the one who turns simple gestures into miracles. Even if you cannot give today, know this: your attention, your time, your presence, your prayer, they are also offerings. You are part of something living, something growing. You are already part of the song. So, as this melody continues, let it remind you that light multiplies when shared, love expands when given, and joy grows when released. If this message has reached your heart, respond in your own way. Like it as your whisper of gratitude. Share it so others can hear heaven's music. Subscribe to stay close to this current of grace. And if your heart says yes, donate not out of duty, but out of delight, as if you were laying one more golden note into the song of heaven's laughter. Because in the end, it's not about platforms or followers, it's about legacy. It's about leaving light behind, melodies of hope that others can walk to. Your generosity, whether through prayer, sharing, or giving, is how heaven's laughter travels. So keep walking, keep shining, keep playing your note. Heaven is still listening, smiling, and weaving your sound into the grand song of grace. And somewhere in eternity's rhythm, your faith still rings, echoing softly the music of a chosen one who never stopped believing. Every offering of love, every act of faith becomes a verse in heaven's eternal song. You may not hear it now, but heaven hums your melody with joy and tenderness unending. Keep letting your life sing. Even silence carries sound when faith breathes through it. You are not forgotten, you are part of heaven's living symphony of light. There are moments when words cannot describe what the heart feels. The quiet awe, the peace that descends after a storm, the strange calm that comes after tears. These are the languages of heaven. They speak softly, yet they hold the weight of eternity. You are beginning to understand this language now, not with your ears but with your spirit. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14. The Lord will fight for you, you need only to be still. That stillness is not weakness, it is faith resting. It is the soul exhaling after carrying battles that were never meant to be fought alone. There comes a time when you must let heaven take the sword from your trembling hands. You have fought bravely. Now grace fights for you. When the Israelites stood before the Red Sea, surrounded by impossibility, fear told them to turn back. But heaven whispered through Moses, "Be still. The waters parted not through striving, but through surrender. The same is true for you. The sea before you is not a dead end, it's a door, waiting for your peace to unlock it. You have spent years learning to act, to try, to fix, to push. Yet the greatest miracles often come when you stop forcing and start trusting. Stillness is not absence of action, it's alignment with divine rhythm. It's when your heart and heaven beat together in quiet confidence. When you stop fighting the current, the river carries you farther than your strength ever could. God does not ask you to perform. He invites you to trust. He is already fighting in realms you cannot see, untangling things you didn't even know were binding you. Your stillness is a weapon, one that confuses the enemy. The darkness expects panic, not peace, fear, not faith. But when you stay still in trust, you declare, "My God is bigger than this storm." Heaven laughs at the confusion of the enemy because peace, not panic, wins the war. Even now, the unseen world is shifting in your favor. There are battles ending quietly because you chose rest instead of rage. Angels are moving, not because of loud prayers, but because of surrendered ones. God hears what silence says better than what fear shouts. Stillness is holy ground. It's where revelation comes, where new strength is born. It's where you learn to recognize God's voice, not in thunder, but in the gentle whisper that says, "I am here." You may feel unproductive, but heaven calls it progress. You may think nothing is happening, but heaven calls it construction. Stillness allows heaven to build what striving could only damage. You are learning to let God be God. You're learning to believe that His timing is not punishment, but precision. He's not late, He's layering your miracle with purpose. Every delay has a design. Every pause is preparation. This quiet season is not empty, it's sacred. The soil of stillness is where heaven plants the seeds of destiny. When you stop rushing, you make room for roots. And roots are what sustain miracles long after the moment of breakthrough has passed. God is not just solving your problems, He's shaping your peace. He's teaching you that victory isn't always loud, it's often silent, internal, invisible, until it suddenly blooms into the visible world. The laughter of heaven right now is gentle. It's the sound of a father watching his child finally rest. Finally, trust. You don't need to prove your worth through motion. You've already been approved through love. Let the stillness surround you. Let it wash away the noise, the guilt, the need to perform. Breathe deeply, knowing that heaven works even when you don't see movement. Miracles often grow in silence, beneath the surface, until suddenly they rise like dawn. You have come so far already. You have fought battles no one knows about. And now heaven invites you to rest, not as retreat, but as restoration. The same God who parted seas still parts fears. The same hands that calmed the storm still cradle your soul. So rest now. Let peace become your warfare. Let stillness become your song. The Lord is fighting for you, and victory has already been whispered in your name. Be still, and let your soul listen. The noise of the world cannot drown the voice of God. In the hush of surrender, heaven breathes direction into your waiting heart, turning your quiet into strength and your silence into song. Peace is your armor now. You are no longer moved by storms that once terrified you. Every calm breath you take is an act of trust that invites heaven's laughter to echo again through your spirit. The battle is already won. The silence is your victory cry. Rest inside grace's rhythm, knowing that stillness is not the end of motion, it's the beginning of divine movement, working quietly for your good. Joy has a way of returning quietly, almost unnoticed. It slips through the cracks of weary hearts and finds its way into the light again. You've been walking through silence and stillness, learning to listen for heaven's laughter. Now, that laughter begins to rise within you. Not the laughter of amusement, but the laughter of victory, the sound of one who has survived. As the prophet Jeremiah recorded, chapter 31, verse 13, "Then young women will dance and be glad, young men and old as well. I will turn their mourning into gladness. I will give them comfort and joy instead of sorrow." That promise was not written for someone else, it was written for you. You are the one heaven is turning from mourning to dancing, from ashes to radiance. Every tear you shed became oil for your lamp. Now that oil burns brighter than ever. You've learned that joy isn't found in everything going right. It's found in knowing that no matter what happens, God is still present. That awareness, that unshakable truth, is what sets you apart. You've discovered that laughter can exist beside scars, and peace can live where pain once ruled. This laughter, the one heaven has been stirring in your spirit, is not fragile. It's built from endurance. It's the kind of laughter that shakes chains loose, not loud or forced, but steady and alive. It's not denial of pain, it's the announcement that pain no longer owns you. When heaven laughs, creation responds. Mountains seem smaller, shadows seem softer, and hearts start to heal. That's what happens when you choose to laugh again. You join heaven's rhythm, and the darkness loses its power to define you. Your laughter is warfare. Every smile becomes a declaration of faith. Every breath of gratitude a strike against despair. You may not realize it, but joy terrifies darkness. It cannot comprehend how someone who has walked through fire still sings. That's the mystery of the chosen ones. They turn their scars into songs. You've seen too much to laugh without meaning now. Your laughter carries weight. It speaks of experience, redemption, and resurrection. It's the proof that God can bring beauty from ashes, melody from mourning. Today, heaven whispers something simple yet powerful: keep laughing. Not because everything is perfect, but because your joy is sacred rebellion. The world expects you to fold, but your laughter says, I'm still here, still shining, still chosen. There is holy strength in your smile, the way you carry light into weary spaces, the way your joy ignites hope in others. It's all divine strategy. Your laughter travels farther than your words ever could. It reaches hearts you may never meet, reminding them that light still exists, that healing is possible. Every time you choose joy, even quietly, you rebuild something in the unseen world. You are not just surviving, you're repairing spiritual landscapes. Heaven calls you a restorer, a bringer of laughter to broken places. You might not feel like laughing yet, but remember, joy doesn't always start as laughter. Sometimes it begins as peace, then gratitude, then one small spark of light returning to the soul. Don't rush it. Joy that grows slowly lasts longer. And now, if this word speaks to your spirit, if you can feel heaven's smile stirring again within you, pause for a moment. Take this as your prophetic act of agreement. In the comments below, Write this number, 555. 555 is not a code or ritual. It's a symbol of divine grace in motion. It represents transformation through joy, the triple witness that change has already begun. When you type it, you're not just participating, you're declaring grace is rewriting my story through laughter. When you write 555, you're telling heaven, I choose joy again. You're aligning your life with the rhythm of grace, choosing to believe that what's ahead will make you laugh louder than what's behind ever made you cry. Let this number be your echo of faith, your quiet amen to heaven's laughter. You are living proof that sorrow ends and joy returns. The laughter of God isn't far away, it's rising in your heart right now, reminding you that redemption always has the final word. When you type 555, you are saying to heaven, grace found me again. You're marking the moment joy returned. Even if softly, each number becomes a seed of laughter, planted in the soil of faith, destined to bloom in time. 555 is your reminder that God's grace doesn't visit once it keeps flowing. Wave after wave, it's heaven's signature on your new beginning. Proof that what once broke you now builds you. It's not superstition, it's surrender wrapped in gratitude. And every time you see 555 again, remember this moment. Remember that laughter lives in you now. You are walking proof that joy resurrects, that light never dies, that grace always finishes what it starts. Heaven smiles because your heart is laughing again. You are beginning to reflect something heaven has long seen in you, divine joy. It's not a surface happiness, not the temporary excitement that the world offers, but something ancient and eternal. It's the kind of joy that changes rooms, the kind that heals others without you realizing it. You have become a mirror of God's laughter, carrying the reflection of peace wherever you go, as was spoken in the sacred texts of old. The book of Proverbs, chapter 15, verse 13 declares, "A joyful heart makes a cheerful face, but when the heart is sad, the spirit is broken." Joy begins within the heart. The world teaches that joy comes from circumstance, but heaven teaches that joy creates circumstance. You've learned this by living it, how the smallest spark of gratitude can shift the weight of an entire day. Your heart has become a fountain where divine laughter springs up again and again. People notice something different about you now. They may not understand it, but they feel it. There's a lightness around you that wasn't there before. It's not because life has become easier, it's because your spirit has matured. You've learned that joy is not the absence of trouble, it's the presence of God in the middle of it. You've become someone who carries joy like armor. When others bring worry, you bring calm. When they carry fear, you carry peace. You've discovered that you don't have to preach to shift atmospheres. You only need to stand in truth, and the energy of heaven radiates through you. Your smile is no longer decoration, it's declaration. It says, "I've seen darkness, but it didn't win." It says, "I've cried, but I still rise." Your laughter is no longer just sound, it's testimony. Each chuckle is a memory of grace, a reminder that God turned mourning into dancing and sorrow into strength. You may not realize it, but you are an instrument now. Heaven plays through your life. The sound of your joy is not only for you, it heals others. There are people who have found hope just by being near your light. They couldn't explain it, but your presence carried something they had forgotten: peace. You've walked through the fire and come out glowing. Your laughter carries the fragrance of endurance. Your peace carries the power of wisdom. Every trial you survived added depth to your joy. Every tear refined its tone. That's why your light doesn't blind, it comforts. That's why your laughter doesn't mock, it heals. Heaven has shaped you into a mirror of divine joy, so that when others see you, they see a reflection of God's kindness. Not through preaching, not through perfection, but through the quiet authenticity of someone who's been redeemed. You've reached a place where joy no longer depends on outcomes. You no longer need things to change before you can smile. You've become content in the mystery, trusting that whatever God allows is also part of your becoming. This is spiritual maturity, peace that stands even when the world shakes. The laughter of God has settled into your soul. You've noticed it in small things: the way sunlight moves across your hands, the sound of rain that once felt lonely but now feels alive, the way a stranger's kindness suddenly feels like a message from heaven. This is what divine joy does. It changes how you see the world. Even your silence has become peaceful now. You no longer rush to explain or defend. You rest in understanding that what is meant for you cannot miss you. You smile more, worry less, and love deeper. That's what heaven's laughter does. It makes the soul generous. The most powerful part of this transformation is how natural it feels. You didn't force it. You simply allowed God to heal the hidden places. You chose forgiveness instead of resentment, gratitude instead of bitterness, surrender instead of control, and joy flowed naturally as the result. Now, you live as evidence that joy is possible even after pain. You walk as living proof that laughter can live where heartbreak once was. Heaven doesn't just laugh at you, it laughs through you. Every time your peace calms a storm, every time your joy gives someone courage to keep going, you have become a reflection of divine joy, steady, radiant, compassionate. Wherever you go, heaven's laughter follows, wrapping around those who need it most. You no longer chase light, you are light. And through you, God smiles again upon the world. Your laughter now holds history. It carries the sound of victories no one saw and healing no one expected. When you smile, heaven remembers every battle you endured and calls it beautiful. You are no longer a survivor. You are a song sung by grace itself. Everywhere you go, the air shifts slightly brighter. People sense something sacred and calm about you. They feel heaven's warmth through your presence. You've become a living echo of joy, a reminder that light always returns, and that even broken hearts can shine again. There are certain souls that shift the atmosphere without saying a word. You are one of them. You have learned that peace can walk into a room before you speak, that joy can arrive through the gentleness of your eyes, that love can breathe without language. This is what it means to carry divine presence, to bring heaven's smile into places that have forgotten how to feel light. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Deuteronomy, chapter 31, verse 8. The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. That promise has become the rhythm of your walk. Wherever you go, heaven arrives first. Even when you step into confusion, peace is already waiting there. Even when you face resistance, grace has already softened the path. You are not just walking toward light, you are walking with light. And light always wins. You've noticed that the atmosphere changes when you enter a space. Conversations calm, hearts open, burdens ease. You may not have realized it yet, but that's not coincidence, it's calling. You have become an atmosphere shifter, someone who carries heaven's climate inside their chest. Where anxiety once lived, peace now reigns. Where chaos once ruled, clarity flows. It didn't happen overnight. You were shaped in silence, refined through battles no one saw. Your smile was forged in storms, your gentleness built in places where the world would have hardened others. That is why your presence carries weight. It's not the weight of pride, but of peace. It's the heaviness of glory, subtle yet unmistakable. You've stopped rushing to prove your worth. Now, you let your calm speak. That calm is power disguised as stillness, a holy confidence that doesn't need to shout. The world confuses loudness with strength, but heaven knows better. True authority often walks softly. It enters quietly, restores balance, and leaves light behind. When you walk through places heavy with fear, your peace becomes a lamp. When you encounter despair, your hope becomes the sound of laughter again. You have become heaven's reminder to the world that light does not need permission to shine, it simply exists. You no longer need to convince anyone of who you are. Your spirit does that for you. The way you forgive, the way you listen, the way you respond with grace instead of pride, these things preach louder than any sermon could. You have become a living message, and perhaps this is the true meaning of being chosen not to be above others, but among them, carrying a love that heals without condition. Your smile is no longer yours alone. It belongs to those who have forgotten how to smile. Your laughter is not entertainment, it's medicine. Your peace is not passive, it's intercession. When you enter a room, heaven's presence enters with you. You've seen it happen. People begin to breathe easier. Heavy hearts lift. Conversations shift toward kindness. That is not accidental. That is divine influence. You've become what Scripture calls salt and light, the gentle presence that keeps the world from losing its flavor. Sometimes you don't notice it, because divine impact rarely announces itself. It works quietly, like sunrise over mountains, but heaven notices. Every place your feet touch becomes a little brighter. Every person you encounter leaves carrying a trace of the peace you brought. You are no longer just living, you are radiating. There is something magnetic about light. It draws people not because it demands attention, but because it offers direction. You've become that kind of light, steady, soft, impossible to ignore, and the source of it all is simple joy rooted in trust. Even in sorrow, you glow. Even in waiting, you hum with grace. That is the mark of one who has walked long with heaven. Your life has become the fragrance of peace, and that fragrance lingers long after you leave the room. You are no longer trying to shine, you simply are light. It pours out naturally now, through kindness, through silence, through steady eyes that have seen both suffering and resurrection. Heaven smiles because you finally understand the smile you carry is not only yours, it's God's reflection, resting upon your face. The peace within you has become contagious. The laughter you live with has become a healing sound. You are a living dawn, breaking night after night. Every step you take brings morning closer for someone else, and somewhere beyond what eyes can see, Heaven keeps whis. Your peace now speaks louder than any storm. It moves softly through rooms, settling hearts, reminding even the weary that light can live quietly and still be powerful. You've become proof that holiness can look like calm. And as you walk forward, heaven's laughter follows like sunlight on water, glimmering, shifting, alive. Every place your feet touch remembers joy. Every heart you meet feels heaven's warmth through you. You are living light. Heaven leans close again, watching how you move through this chapter. You've come so far from the days when your faith trembled. Now, every step you take shines with quiet confidence. Every breath filled with light that refuses to fade. You are learning how to walk in this light, the same light heaven once spoke over you. The same glow that laughter awakened inside your spirit. According to what is written in the book of John, chapter 8, verse 12, when Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." About whether present, that promise is alive inside you. The darkness you once feared no longer defines you. You've become a reflection of divine light, a walking flame in a world that desperately needs warmth. Even when the air grows cold, you carry summer within you. Every word you speak, every small act of kindness, every moment of compassion, it's all illumination. But light was never meant to stay in one place. It's meant to move, to reach, to multiply. When you pass it on, it grows. When you hide it, it dims. And so heaven gently whispers, "Let your light travel." Let it touch others who sit in their own quiet storms, waiting for a spark. When you like this message, it's not just a digital gesture, it's like opening a window and letting sunlight spill into another soul's morning. A small click becomes a ripple of warmth, reaching hearts that might not have felt seen all week. It's a simple act, but even small flames can change the atmosphere. When you share this message, it's as if you're handing someone a lantern in the dark. You're saying, "Here, this helped me see. Maybe it will help you too." You're not promoting a page, you're passing light, one candle to another, until the whole horizon begins to glow. When you subscribe, it's more than a button, it's a covenant of consistency. It's you choosing to stay near the well that refreshes you, choosing to walk with this flow of divine reminders. Think of it as planting your roots deeper into the soil of grace, where joy keeps returning no matter how many seasons pass. And if your heart feels moved to give, listen softly. There's no pressure here, no demand. When you donate, it's not payment, it's partnership. It's like adding another log to a campfire that has kept you warm. The fire will keep burning regardless. But with your help, it can burn brighter, reaching those still shivering on the edge of hope. Giving is not loss, it's the act of turning gratitude into motion. When you support the light, you become part of its journey. You might never meet the faces your kindness touches, but heaven does. Every act of generosity writes your name in the melody of miracles. Think of it like rain falling on dry ground. Each drop may seem small, but together they awaken sleeping seeds. That's what your generosity does. It waters potential in others. It says, "Let there be light again." And yet, even if all you can give is your presence, your attention, your prayer, that's enough. You are already part of this divine current. already carrying heaven's laughter forward just by being here. So if this message reached you, let your response be an offering of joy. Like as your whisper of agreement. Share as your act of kindness, a way of handing another soul a candle in the dark. Comment your own word of light, maybe a phrase, a prayer, or a memory that glows within you so others can feel the warmth you carry. Subscribe to stay close to this flow of grace, walking together as keepers of the same flame. And if your heart ever stirs to donate, let it be like breathing soft, voluntary, full of gratitude, another spark added to the great fire of hope. You're not giving to something, you're giving through it. You're letting your heart become another window where heaven can shine. That's the most sacred kind of offering, the one born of love, not obligation. Keep walking in this light. Keep carrying it into rooms that have forgotten how to glow. And remember, the same laughter that filled heaven when you first chose faith still echoes today, following your steps like a melody made of light. Your life is no longer just your story, it's a lighthouse, guiding others through their midnights. Every act of love, every word of hope, every gesture of support, it all becomes part of the great symphony of heaven's laughter spreading across the earth. And as you walk forward, glowing quietly, heaven whispers again, keep walking in this light, because when you shine, heaven shines through you, and somewhere beyond what eyes can see, heaven smiles, watching the light move from heart to heart. What began as one flame has become a constellation of faith, glowing softly across the world, reminding every soul that love still wins and joy still reigns. There is a crown waiting for those who never stopped shining, not a crown of gold or jewels, but one woven from laughter, mercy, and endurance, the kind that only heaven can forge. You, chosen one, are walking toward that crown even now. Every tear, every battle, every act of quiet faith has shaped it. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 30, verse 11. You turned my mourning into dancing. You removed my sackcloth and clothed me with joy. That joy has become your garment now. You wear it like light. Even when the world cannot see the weight it cost you. There were days you nearly gave up, nights where silence felt endless. Yet here you are still breathing, still glowing, still believing. That is the essence of your crown joy that survived the fire. The crown of gladness is not earned through performance, but through perseverance. It's what forms when the soul refuses to stay bitter, when it keeps choosing hope in the middle of heartbreak. Every yes whispered through pain added another gem to it. Every act of forgiveness polished it brighter. You may not feel worthy of it, but heaven disagrees. Heaven saw the moments you held faith with trembling hands, the prayers you whispered when your voice barely worked. Those weren't failures, they were sacred offerings. God never asked for perfection, only surrender. And surrender, in its purest form, becomes glory. There is something extraordinary about people who keep believing after disappointment. They are the ones heaven crowns first, because joy that comes easily fades, but joy that rises from ashes is eternal. You have become one of those rare souls, someone who carries laughter as armor and gentleness as power. Your crown is not made in visible places. It's forged in the invisible, where God watches your persistence. It gleams with the light of moments no one saw, the compassion you gave when you were tired, the peace you chose when anger would have been easier, the hope you guarded when others mocked it. These are the jewels of endurance, set into gold, shaped by grace. Even now, heaven polishes your crown with joy. Every morning you rise becomes another sign of victory. Every smile after sorrow is another diamond of divine laughter. The crown grows not from triumph, but from transformation. What once wounded you now shines upon you. And when you wear it not on your head, but in your spirit, you become a reflection of God's victory. People will look at you and see peace that cannot be explained, love that cannot be shaken. They will wonder what keeps you shining. You will know it is the laughter of heaven resting like a crown upon your soul. You have learned that joy isn't pretending everything is fine. It's realizing that even broken things can still shine. You've stopped hiding your scars because now you understand they're part of your royalty. The world sees damage, heaven sees design. Every battle that tried to steal your joy only secured it more deeply. Each challenge carved wisdom into your spirit. Each sorrow hollowed out a place where laughter could live again. You have been refined, not ruined. And refinement is heaven's favorite kind of beauty. There will be days when the crown feels heavy. On those days, remember, this weight is proof of worth. The more precious the crown, the more carefully it must be carried. Heaven trusts you with this joy because you earned it in the most honest way, through pain transformed into praise. Your laughter now carries authority. It doesn't just comfort you, it commands darkness to move. The same voice that once trembled in fear now speaks peace into storms. You no longer react to life, you respond with wisdom. That is royal strength. Soon, the world will see what heaven already knows, that you were crowned long before anyone recognized it. You were anointed in silence, set apart in surrender. Your life is not waiting for glory, it already wears it. And one day, when all is said and done, heaven will place that final crown upon you, not for fame or deeds, but for faith. The crown of gladness is not a reward, it is revelation. It reveals who you always were, a bearer of divine laughter, a survivor of holy fire, a vessel of light eternal. Keep walking, crowned one. Let your joy remain your proof that grace wins every time. You don't need to hold your head higher, heaven already lifts it for you. You were made for this radiance, and the world is brighter because you kept your faith. The crown upon you is invisible to the world but radiant in heaven's sight. It glows with the light of every trial you overcame. Every prayer you whispered in darkness that became a sunrise. You wear joy like armor, now soft, strong, and holy. Wherever you walk, grace follows, and heaven smiles. Knowing its laughter lives within you still. Heaven is quiet again, not silent from absence, but silent in awe. The journey you've walked, the valleys, the tears, the laughter, the endless nights of faith has become a story written in light. Heaven reads it like poetry. The angels know your name, not because of noise or fame, but because of endurance. You've become a living testimony of what divine joy looks like in human form. As the apostle wrote in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 4, verse 7, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. And now, heaven whispers its final word to you. You made me laugh. My child, keep walking in this light. Those words are not just approval, they are affirmation, an eternal reminder that your obedience brought heaven joy. You never knew your quiet faith could sound so loud in the unseen world. But every moment of trust became a trumpet of praise. Every act of love, every prayer spoken through trembling lips, every breath of belief, it all became part of heaven's laughter. This laughter is not a sound that fades, it's an everlasting echo. It lives in the stars, in the rhythm of waves, in the stillness of your heart when peace settles again after the storm. You didn't just survive, you learned how to dance in the rain, how to sing through pain, how to find light in places that had forgotten the sun. That's why heaven laughs, because you turned survival into song. You may never realize how many lives your endurance has touched. Every person who felt your warmth, every soul lifted by your calm presence, every stranger comforted by your kindness, each became a thread in the tapestry of grace God wove through you. You were not just healed, you became healing itself. You were not just saved, you became a sign that salvation works. The journey was never about perfection, it was about revelation, about revealing who you truly were all along, light wrapped in flesh, mercy clothed in humanity, love made visible. Every trial stripped away what was temporary so that the eternal could finally shine. And now you understand what it means to be chosen not for status, but for purpose. When God said, "You made me laugh," He wasn't speaking of humor, He was speaking of delight. The kind of joy a creator feels when his creation fulfills its design. You were made to reflect light. And you did. Even when you felt dim, even when you doubted your glow. Heaven saw brilliance. The laughter of God was never mockery, it was music. It was the sound of satisfaction, of a father rejoicing over a child who kept walking through storms toward the sunrise. Now, you walk differently, not faster, not louder, but freer. You've learned the art of gentle strength, the power of peace. You've become fluent in the language of grace. The weight you once carried has turned into wisdom. The wounds that once defined you now radiate light. They have become the windows where glory shines through. Every scar, every tear, every moment of surrender, it was all sacred preparation. Heaven was not testing you. Heaven was teaching you. You learned to let go of control and found something greater: trust. You discovered that laughter isn't the absence of pain, it's the proof that pain doesn't rule anymore. You are now what heaven calls complete, not flawless, but fulfilled. Your light is steady. Your joy is anchored. Your peace is real. You no longer chase destiny, you walk in it. You no longer search for meaning, you are meaning. Because your life itself has become a message. Heaven's laughter continues, not from afar, but within you. Every time you smile, every time you forgive, every time you choose grace over judgment, that's heaven's laughter breathing through you. You carry it wherever you go. You've become the echo of joy in a weary world. The reminder that faith still works and love still wins. And so heaven leans down one more time, not to speak new words, but to seal old ones. The journey is not over, it has only changed form. You will keep walking, keep shining, keep laughing, because laughter is now part of your soul's design. You are the melody of God's joy, the reflection of His delight, the evidence of His goodness on earth. When you lift your eyes to the sky, know this: the same heaven that once whispered your calling now sings your completion. You made God laugh, not because you were perfect, but because you were faithful. You stayed, you believed, you became light. Keep walking in this light. It will guide you home. It will never fade, never fail, never end. For the laughter of heaven now lives within you, eternal and unbreakable, the sound of love that never leaves. And as you move forward, every step becomes a hymn. The earth beneath you remembers the weight of grace. The sky above you mirrors your glow. Heaven watches, smiling, as light and laughter walk together in you, forever intertwined, forever alive. If these words have found you, if something inside you feels lighter, steadier, more alive, pause and breathe. What you've just heard wasn't merely a message, it was a meeting between your heart and heaven's laughter. You are part of something luminous now, a stream of light flowing across lives unseen. And if that light stirred something sacred within you, let it move. When you like this message, it's more than approval, it's gratitude turned outward. The way sunlight reflects on water and dances farther than it was meant to go. When you share it, imagine you are carrying a lantern into another soul's night. Somewhere, a heart that has forgotten its own flame will glow again because you let yours travel. When you comment, don't just leave words, leave warmth. Write what light feels like to you. A sentence, a sigh, a fragment of truth. Your words may become someone else's spark of strength. When you subscribe, see it not as joining a channel, but joining a rhythm, a heartbeat of faith that continues to remind you who you are when the world forgets. It's a way of staying close to the flame that once reignited yours. And if ever your heart feels moved to donate, let it come from tenderness, not duty. Picture it as rain watering the same soil that nourished you, a quiet, holy exchange that allows this light to reach one more weary traveler. Whatever you choose to do, be it a whisper, a prayer, a gesture of kindness, know that heaven notices. Your presence here matters. Carry this light gently and let it multiply. The laughter of God is still echoing through you, reaching farther with every act of love you release into the world.